he asked this, and it was just a test because he already knew what he had in plan. Philip answered, and he said, 8 months' wages. Just think of what 8 months. Anybody here be willing to throw 8 months into a project and just go, and that's only going to get him a bite. That's only going to get him a little bit. And the story goes on to talk about a guy there that he comes up with 2 fish and 5 loaves. I don't know the whole, because the Bible doesn't tell us whether he heard Jesus lean over to Philip and ask him this kind of hypothetical, kind of rhetorical question. And the little guy just kind of said, I got some food. Here you go. Or whether Philip, out of just sheer frustration, looked around and sees a little guy with a lunch bag and just rips it out of his hands and goes, hey, here's a couple fish and some loaves. I have a tendency to believe it was the little guy probably heard it and said, I'll do my part. Take my lunch. See what you can do with that. I think sometimes we can get overwhelmed in our 60-60 challenge because when you do plug in with God, if it's a new endeavor or maybe it's a new way of doing it that you see things clearer and bigger, you start seeing a limited resource, you and what you have, your time, your energy, your talents, and an unlimited need. And the truth is, it can cause you to vapor lock. It can cause you to just go, choo. It can cause us to get overwhelmed and say, if that's what plugging into God is, unplug me. Because you can't really handle it. Because I'm here to tell you, if you really go out and start listening and looking and hearing and seeing everything around you and you don't get overwhelmed, something might be amok with you. You know, this time of year, Sturgis being here, you hear reports of human trafficking and all that, and you get your focus on that, and you start thinking about what's going on with if there really was an island and there really was all this pedophile stuff, and you go like, oh my God, it's just too much. I just can't do anything. I would just as soon not know. Limited supply. Imagine this. This is what this story is about. It's 2 fish, 5 loaves, limited supply in the hands of an unlimited God. In a God that doesn't have the limitations that you and I have. The one that can say, you have tax problems? Go fishing. If you don't know that story, they need to pay their tax. They went fishing. First fish they opened up, they took the coins out of the fish's mouth and paid their taxes. Woohoo! How about the Old Testament? There's a prophet, and he goes up to a widow and a son, and they're going to die. They're going to make their last little piece of bread. They got a little flour and a little bit of oil, limited to the supplies. The prophet says, don't feed yourself. Feed me first. If you just read it at face value, it's kind of, how arrogant, how self-centered, how amazing that this widow puts her limited supply in the hands of an unlimited God. And the story goes on to say they never ran out of oil or